Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beyond Resilience Life podcast. This is your host, Dr. Lydiana Garcia, and you're tuning in to another episode of the special series of Resiliency during COVID. For today, we're going to be talking about 5 simple recommendations that I consider to be helpful during this time. But before we go there, I want to remind you that anything that I share in this episode or in any of the other episodes of the Beyond Resilience Life is not meant to substitute any psychotherapy or any kind of medical advice, and for you to please to consult with your primary doctor if you want to implement any recommendations in this or in any of the other episodes. So now let's go in. So for today, I wanted to focus about giving you some simple tools on helping managing everything that's going on. So I want to start with using the 5 senses. And I know there's more than 5 senses, but I'm going to just make it very simple from that perspective. And I know I've shared in other episodes about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kind of skill that is a very simple one. But let me remind you of what that means. So it's basically like when you're in a train of thought that it's kind of going into worrying, or you're kind of like, oh my God, and seeing the news, and you feel like it's really hard to kind of fight those thoughts or try to like get them out of your head. That would be a really good time to do like a mindfulness pause. And this is one of the examples to kind of orient you back to the present via your 5 senses. And you can do that you can alternate however you want the senses. The easiest way that I usually recommend is naming and first identifying and naming 5 things that you see, 4 sounds, 3 different textures that you can touch around, 2 different smells, and then take a sip of water, a sip of a drink, or just swallow and notice that. And when you do that, it tends to kind of bring you to the present, and it interrupts the train of thought of worry, of catastrophizing, or any of that. And you can do this even when you're with people, they don't have to know what you're doing in your mind, because you're just looking around and orienting yourself to your senses, and that tends to kind of help. Another way that you can use your 5 senses is just to use it to your advantage. So like you can start thinking about different things that you enjoy via your senses, and you can have them around. For example, images of things that you like, videos that bring you some kind of sense of comfort. You can have them like in your YouTube page, or just save them, little things like that. The same goes with music or any kind of sound. This is a great time to just have music in your background playing all the time, and depending on how you feel, you can choose music that is a little bit more high, like upbeat, or you can choose music that is more mellow. But music is a really good tool, and including there, it would be also really, helpful if you can look about binaural beats, because they're kind of like are helping you with the different kind of frequency and hertz of the music. That can also help with the brain with kind of regulating. It's best to use them when you have earphones, because then you're like listening it better. And there's so many researchers out there about binaural beats and different kind of hertz. You can Google that. You can find them in YouTube and Spotify and whatever you want. The other thing is like smell. Smell is one of the most primitive senses, and it goes straight to your brain. So like if you have a smell, and I cannot emphasize this enough, if you find a smell that it's helpful for you and it brings like good memories or cozy feelings or feeling comfortable, that is one that you I don't want to use that word, but that's one that it will be really helpful. Could be candles, just, be careful about the toxicity of some candles and all that. And also with some essential oils, if they're not pure enough and all those kind of stuff, because there's a lot of toxic, in terms of fragrance and all that. But in general, like finding any smell, and it can also be like, for me, I know like cinnamon and vanilla. So like even just like pure vanilla extract and stuff like that can be helpful, because I like those smells. So identifying those and having them accessible, if you have candles, if you have essential oils, or anything else like herbs that you're anything else that you like, then have them around during the day. Have them in the background as well. And then we also go about texture. This one, it's something that for many of us, it varies. And anything that I'm saying, it varies. It's for you to kind of explore. And one way that could be helpful is I do have a self-regulation plan in my website. I think it's in my website. I know it's definitely the link in my Instagram account that you can access it, and it can help you kind of identifying via your 5 senses different things. And that way you can create like a self-regulation plan, like something that you can carry with you, you can have, and that could be helpful. But in general, for textures, some people like things that feel like heavy, so like heavy blankets. Some people like to feel like they're swaddled in, so like even something like a scarf and you just tie it tight, or having some kind of fluffy or texture that you enjoy. That could be, it could be having like a special pillow, a special socks that, you know, they feel very comfortable in your feet. So in general, it's just finding whatever feels soothing for you as you touch it. And that could also be really, really helpful. And then the other one is more about different taste. So this is something, you know, like having a special drink throughout the day, like tea, coffee, juice, sparkling water, whatever it is for you. But it could also just be about different temperatures, like having a cold drink, having a hot drink, having just, you know, slowing down and swallowing and being really focusing about what you're drinking. But having a gum or a special like candy or something that in your mouth that it provides a sense of taste, but also like texture in your mouth. Like crunchy things can be very soothing for some people. Some people go more to mushy kind of foods. But whatever that is, after you identify that you can have access to it. And these are different things that you can have throughout your day, you can have in your setup, because, you know, as you're doing shelter in place for most of us, then if you can have that music playing in the background, the candles or the smell, having that texture with you as you're working or as you're doing whatever you're doing, having that drink with you, and having, what's the sense that I'm missing? You know, images, or, you know, seeing something that you enjoy. Imagine how different you would feel. And you don't have to do all of them. I'm just saying, you know, I'm just adding that, but you can just have one or two. And just noticing, like the last episode, noticing how you feel right before and in the middle and right after. So that way you can start exploring what works for you and what doesn't. And this includes what works for you in specific moments and what doesn't. So those are like via the 5 senses. The second simple recommendation is making a list of things that you can control. This whole pandemic is bringing a lot of uncertainty and bringing back the awareness that we don't have that much control in many things out there, like in terms of our world and you know, pandemics and stuff like that. But there's things that you can control and you still have some, like, you know, the thoughts that you may be choosing to pay attention to. Not necessarily which one comes, but which one are you paying attention. It could also be about the food that you're putting in your mouth. And this varies person by person, and I'm taking in consideration, you know, different other factors, like socioeconomical factors and all that. But even in the midst of that, we still have some kind of control of something. So like making a list of that can help us feel somewhat more grounded and more like, oh, okay, there are some things that we can control. Because as soon as our body start to interpret uncertainty, and that can be perceived for most of us as a threat, then our bodies are going to just be, you know, our nervous system is just going to be reacting into that kind of trauma response. But as you start creating some kind of new normal, something predictable, even if it's like a routine to sleep, like choosing things and being aware of how things that you're choosing. Oh, I'm choosing to eat this now instead of later. I'm choosing to sleep now. And again, it varies person by person and circumstances, but the whole idea is figuring it out. What do you have control? And just notice again what happens right before you do the list, right as you're doing it, and right after. The third one is connecting to others. This one is so important. And I know right now a lot of people are, in physical isolation. There's a lot of people that are by themselves with their kids and haven't necessarily interacted in person with any other adult. Some people, are by themselves. There's so many different stories about and different circumstances. But in general, I find that it's super, super important in times like this to connect with other peoples. And I'm so grateful that technology is where it is because it makes it way easier. Like today, earlier, I was part of a friend's virtual baby shower because it got canceled because of this. And it was really fun. We even did some games, like traditional baby shower games via Zoom. So like finding different avenues, like you have an iPhone like FaceTime, Google Hangouts, Zoom, Skype, finding something so that way you can connect and you can kind of transform like things that you were doing with, online, like online brunches, if you want to do an online happy hour and like a watch, like party, like watching TV or a movie or something. Like we can get creative and we can still connect with others. And this one, I think it's super essential, especially as we are in physical isolation. So that way we feel like, even though we know that we are, in some kind of way, we're all in this together, but that way you can really connect and really, connect deeply about how are you doing, like really check in. Don't go into the surface because we're all, going through all different emotions. Maybe one day you're fine and the next one isn't, but like being able to be there for others. So that way, you can also feel like they're there for you. It's super, super key, especially during this time. Number 4 is resourcing. And over here, what I'm talking about is about finding different things that are helpful for you. So I already kind of talked a little bit about what I mean with this when I was going into that exercise via the 5 senses, because in this kind of way, it's like finding things that bring you back sense of coziness and having that in your image. You can use it as a guided visual imagination, or you can just write down different things that are resources for you. For example, some people can be like, SoCal, California, so a lot of people here is like hiking, going to the beach. So like those kind of things that bring a sense of comfort, and then finding a way to recreate them in your home. Something as simple, I've recommended to some people to, if they have access to go to the nearest beach, to go and collect some of the sand and bring it in a box, and then put your feet in the sand, close your eyes, maybe put a music, a sound that you can Google it and you can find in many different ways, like ocean waves and stuff like that. So you feel like you're in the ocean, and then you can recreate the smell. Like there's different things that can bring you memories of how it smells in the in the beach and stuff like that you can bring and create like a little safe haven within your home to help you kind of have a space that you can calm down and just kind of just be in the present. So it could be something like that. It could also be like imagining or having like if you have any pets, like just having them in your lap or however you want it, and just really focusing on how it feels to pass your hand and to pet them and all of that. So over here, you can kind of go into so many different ways, and in general, is anything that it provides you that sense of comfort and coziness to have it. And if you have like a pet or something like that, or being with someone, then you can recreate it. But if it's something more abstract, like being in a place that we cannot go out right now, how can you recreate in your mind? What are the resources? Like watching videos of let me go back to the beach, like watching videos of the beach, kind of listening to ocean waves or stuff like that can help you kind of bring back and calm down. And the last one is distracting with a purpose. And this is a time that there's so much bombarding of news and about new findings, because it's something that is also in a way kind of a new virus. So they're still trying to figure it out, so many different things. So it's a good time to kind of practice some distraction. And that could be watching TV, that could be playing a video game, playing a board game. But what I mean with a purpose and also to be mindful is using this time to not necessarily be on your phone with it, to make that statement or that kind of purpose of I'm doing this to distract my mind, even if it's 30 minutes, and I'm going to try to get into it and get into the comedy, show that you're watching or whatever you're watching, and try to be mindful of it instead of like being in your phone and also doing something else, because that's, is not necessarily going to be like a full distraction from a mindfulness perspective. It's just more busyness and more doing stuff that it might not actually necessarily at the end help you with feel less stress or less anxious. So in general, these are the 5 simple recommendations, and I'm gonna repeat them so that way in case you have any question. So number 1 is using your 5 senses. Number 2 is making a list of things you can control. Number 3 is connecting to others. Number 4 is resourcing. Number 5 is distracting with a purpose and being mindful through it. So I hope any of this, or if you try them all, help you. I would love to hear back from you and how it helps. You can do that by either sending me an email to info@thebeyondresilience.life. It will be here in the show notes. Or you can also do that by DM me, so direct messaging to my Dr. Lydiana Garcia IG account or the Beyond Resilience Life IG account. Stay safe. Looking forward to connect with you again. And until then, bye-bye.